Hello and welcome to Sarcastic Videos. Today we're going to be talking about To the Bone, a Netflix original film written and directed by Martin Oxen, starring Keanu Reeves, Lily Collins, Leslie Bibb, Carrie Preston, and Lily Taylor. And this movie is about a woman, Lily Collins, college age, who is dealing with anorexia. And she gets kicked out of another clinic, and she ends up getting put into what's called unconventional methods by Keanu Reeves. He's an unconventional doctor. That's how they describe him. Although, without knowing how those clinics work exactly, I don't really see what he does as too unconventional. Maybe a little bit, but it doesn't really seem like someone who would be described as unconventional. Like, he's not patch adaming the thing. So, but it is interesting the way he deals with it. So Lily Collins is anorexic, and they show this in very direct terms. They don't hide it. They don't try and it's really in your face as far as this movie goes. You do see everything about it. You see the bad stuff. You see how the effects it has on the body, and some of it is pretty disturbing. And they don't shy away from it, which is good. It's very direct, and they do show you the consequences, and not just physically, mentally, but also about how it deals with your family. Carrie Preston is Lily Collins' stepmom in this, and she is trying to help, but this is one of the things where it's like that trope, the whole, hey, it was nice to meet your mom, and then, she just keeps piping up with, she's not my real mom, and all that stuff. You've heard it a million times before, so that part is kind of a little bit eye-rolling, that we're still having those conversations all this time later. But Lily Taylor plays her real mom, and she's a lesbian who came out a long time ago, and then their family broke up, and you never meet the dad. He's in the picture. They keep talking about him and expecting him to show up to the hospital, to show up to family meetings and things like that with the psychiatrist, and he never does. So obviously that's part of the issue that Lily Collins' character is having, but they never talk about it. They just show the guy not showing up and never have any conversations about it, which is odd. There's a lot of conversations they don't have in this movie that I think they should have. There's a whole backstory where she drew some pictures and put them on the internet, and a girl saw them and killed herself because of them, but they never go into any detail about that, which is really odd that they just leave that out. They kind of briefly mention it a couple of times, and that's it. And the other girls, basically what happens is Lily Collins goes to essentially a halfway house where there's other girls there. One of them's Leslie Bibb, who's pregnant, which is a rarity for somebody dealing with anorexia. And they deal with that, but they never. It's another thing. Well, it's a central thing, but very briefly talked about. Same with another character, and this one is actually a good character, played by Alex Sharp. His name's Luke, and he's the only guy in the halfway house when Lily Collins' character shows up, and he's good. Initially, he's kind of cringy, but he explains that as he was trying to make a good impression when Lily Collins showed up, so he was being nervous. But then throughout the rest of the movie, he's more charming and and positive, and really the only positive guy in the house. And his character is good, but again, his backstory is briefly mentioned. The other girls, they don't even get backstories really. And there's no arc. That's the biggest problem I have with this movie. Is I won't say no arc, but there's a tiny arc that they kind of shoehorned in at the end, as far as this character and her fight with anorexia and whether or not she actually does want to fight the anorexia or if she's just doing it because her family keeps forcing her to do it. And that's a big theme throughout the movie, is dealing with her family. Like, she almost sees them as enemies because they keep forcing her to into clinics and therapy and all this stuff, and she treats them like the enemies, and we're supposed to empathize with her, which is hard to do because they never explain her backstory. So for that, it's a hard movie to understand the characters and their motivations because they never explain them, they never try to explain them, they're just there, and we're supposed to just go along with it, which in some cases it's hard to do. So, I mean, like, I sympathize more with the stepmom who's trying to get her stepdaughter into therapy and has to deal with all this, plus the exes. Like, Lily Taylor's character is very out there and unreliable. And, and there's so much other stuff that never gets talked about, never gets explained. It's almost like they should have maybe made it a mini-series and had more talk about the family dynamic than just trying to throw it in some conversations, because I don't think they did that well. But the acting is good. Like, all of the acting throughout the board is good. Keanu Reeves is great as this, so-called unconventional doctor trying to give these kids, like, most of what he's trying to do is give these guys a need to live, a want to live, because that's a big thing with where they are in their fight with anorexia, where they're just giving up and trying to just go live day to day without gaining weight. That's basically their goal. They're not trying to gain weight. They're not trying to be healthy. They're not trying to make their family happy. They're not trying to make themselves happy. And he's trying to show them that there is a life worth living if they can just get through this, what they're dealing with. If they can get past it, if they can fight it, there's something worth living. And it's, I guess you can call that unconventional, but it just seems like something anybody would want to do as part of therapy. And his acting is great. Lily Collins is great. I mean, obviously she had to go through some body transformation and losing weight to fit in with this, and so did Leslie Bibb. Like, if you see her in other movies, she's definitely lost some weight to play this character. And I just wish that they would have told more of a story. Like, it just seems like you're just seeing these people live their lives. They're not telling a story. They're not showing a character arc. They're not. It's just hard to explain why there's a movie about this. Like, if there's not going to show any kind of arc throughout the movie, if it's just here's some kids, here's what they're dealing with, end of movie. That's basically what it was. So, like I said, the acting's good, the writing's good. Overall, it's a decent movie. It just needed to tell a better story. Like, they really do a good job of showing the realism of what people with anorexia deal with, but they should have given their characters more character, and they should have given their story more story. So that is To the Bone, a Netflix original movie. It's out on Netflix now, and I'm gonna give it a thumbs up, but out of 10, I would just rate it a 6 out of 10. It's a decent movie. It's not great. Good acting, like I said. It's just the characters aren't deep enough, and the story's not deep enough to really entertain and make a movie out of. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all of the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.